Welcome for the first time to Creating Through Adversity podcast series of mine. In the first episode, we will be taking a deeper look at one of the hard things an aspiring creative such as myself had to go through, such as depression and overcoming it. As someone who had struggled with depression for a very long amount of time, I want to share my story and experiences with you in this hope that it will inspire you to keep going and chasing your creative goals, no matter what stands in the way. Now, without further ado, let's dive a bit deeper into my past and take a look at the impact my depression has had on everything from my childhood as a whole to my relationship with my parents, my friends, and even myself. First, let's start with my childhood. I was 8 years old when my parents got divorced. Although it might seem like a small thing in the grand scheme of things, that event hit me hard because I was very close to my parents. And for the longest time, it felt like something that was beyond my control and made me feel like my life was suddenly changing in a very negative way. I can still remember my emotional journey in those days. The confusion, the sadness, and the feeling of abandonment. It was all too much to bear, especially at such a young age. When you're a child, like a really young one, you don't understand why things are happening the way they are, and in many cases, you don't know how to process your emotions in a healthy way. So, when I found out about the divorce, it did not take me long to shut myself off from the world and withdraw from everything. It became harder for me to connect with others and even other kids who were my age on an emotional level, and I felt like no one would ever truly understand what I was going through. And when you're isolated and cut off from people who are supposed to be supporting you the most, things can start to spiral downward very quickly. The depression was taking hold of me. And as it grew deeper, it became harder to shake and to cope with the intense anxiety and sadness that came with it. I started losing interest in every activity I once used to love, which only made me feel even more isolated and lost. Eventually, it got to a point where I was feeling a constant sense of emptiness and despair that took over everything I did, every single thought I had. I lost all motivation and joy, and I started to feel completely powerless and hopeless. My world felt like it was crashing down around me, and the worst thing was I had no idea how to stop it. It's difficult to describe the depth of emotional pain and suffering that I went through during this period. It was a kind of agony that was deep and lingering, and it felt like I was drowning even more each day. Every single day felt like I struggled to even get out of bed, and it hurt to the point where I felt like I was being suffocated by my own sadness. All I know was one day I had enough, and I made an attempt to convey how I was feeling with the sole parent I had, my mother. It was a religious reason how my depression decreased mostly, and it was also the reason I was able to start making emotional connections again. Over the next few years, I started to heal from the depression that I had overcome. I started to learn about myself and understand myself on a deeper level. I took the time to make a connection with my family and understand their perspective. And eventually, I began to move forward and regain some of my joy and motivation back. While the depression was still lingering deep down, I was making progress. I kept pushing on because I knew that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And as it started to come into view, my passion for writing and my interest in creating stories began to re-emerge with greater intensity. It was as if the depression had made me realize how much I truly loved and depended on creativity. And with that realization, it gave me the strength to keep pushing through. As the days went on, I started writing more stories, exploring new ideas and characters, and I was soon feeling a sense of excitement and joy about my creative endeavors again. And soon, I was able to look back at the depths of darkness that I had experienced and realized that they had only made me stronger and more passionate about my writing. Making friends and losing them was a part of my emotional journey. From my lowest point, making these friends helped me to feel connected and supported again. I started to feel like people cared about me and my well-being. It was a welcoming change from the isolation and loneliness I felt during my period of depression. And these new friends opened my eyes to the potential of true friendship. It helped me realize that I was a worthy person, worthy of being cared for and loved. There was something truly special and rare about these friends I had found. A feeling of acceptance and mutual respect that went beyond the surface level. They showed me what it truly meant to have a friend who supports you through your highs and lows, thick and thin. It made all the difference that these new friends came into my life when they did. They provided me with the support that I so desperately needed, and they helped me see a different perspective on life. They gave me hope and strength to keep pushing forward, and they became one of the reasons for getting up in the morning. They became my inspiration to pursue creative writing and to never give up alongside my family. But then, one unfortunate day, one of my best friends turned out to be a fake friend. And it was this incident that made me understand what it meant to have a true friend. Because when I finally realized that she wasn't who I thought she was, it hurt on a whole new level. Because not only was my previous depression coming back, now I was to deal with a loss of a dear friend who I thought would stay by my side forever. The whole situation was very difficult to process, and it felt like I was going through all the same emotions that I had before once more. It was a feeling of betrayal and abandonment all over again. But this time, I had more experience and wisdom, and I eventually realized that not all friendships are like this. I realized that the only thing I could do was move on and not let the actions of her define my feelings about everyone else. I also realized that I deserved to have healthy and uplifting relationships with people who genuinely cared about me instead of ones who were toxic and fake. I was able to find the strength and the inspiration to take the next step in my journey. When that friendship ended, I was also able to see that it hadn't entirely been a negative experience. The lessons I learned from it made me a better person in the end. I learned what it meant to have a true friend and how to find those true friends. And I learned the value of trusting others and being cautious with whom I let into my life. It all made me a stronger person in the end. And it showed me that there's so much more out there beyond my depression and isolation. And now, my story has come full circle. I've gone from being depressed and isolated to being someone who has overcome depression and found her creative voice. I've gone from feeling powerless and lost to feeling supported and inspired. And now I want to share my story in the hopes that it will inspire you to never give up on your dreams and to never lose hope. There are many ways to fight depression and the many challenges that it brings. And I hope my story has given you some insight and inspiration. Remember, the only limits are the ones you place on yourself. If I can make it through everything I've been through in life, you can too. Because at the end of the day, what defines us is not our past or our setbacks, but how we choose to respond to them. Take your life back and use your experiences and emotions to drive you forward instead of holding you back. And remember, it's never too late to start. So, what are you waiting for? I hope this message has been inspirational and uplifting to you. Remember, you are stronger and more capable than you might think. So don't let anything or anyone hold you back from pursuing your dreams and passions. Don't let anything stop you from creating something amazing. Because in the end, creating through adversity is the ultimate form of inspiration. So don't be frightened by adversity or by depression. Instead, embrace it and let it push you forward to become someone worth writing or talking about. Because being a creative person in the face of adversity is what it truly means to be strong. So take that strength and let it inspire you to keep going, keep fighting, and keep creating. And remember, at the end of the day, everything and anything is possible. So go ahead and write that novel or that short story you've been putting off. Or maybe it's time to create a podcast or a YouTube channel. Whatever your creative passion is, Don't let anything get in the way of it ever, because your creativity is your power, and when you use it to overcome adversity, it becomes one of your greatest strengths. Finally, let's circle back to the very beginning of this podcast series and the core message, creating through adversity. In my experience, this process of creating through adversity is one that is often challenging yet rewarding. It's not always easy to push through the obstacles and difficulties that can come your way, but when you do, there's nothing more powerful than the sense of satisfaction and inspiration that comes from creating something amazing. Creativity can inspire us to find new ways of thinking and problem solving. It can provide us with new perspectives and ideas that we may never have thought of before. And it can help us express ourselves and our emotions in ways that no other form of communication can. When you create, you are exercising your mind and expanding your creative horizons. And it is by overcoming adversity that you're able to develop your creative strength and bring out your inner genius. So don't let anything hold you back from tapping into that creative potential. No matter what life is throwing at you, don't let it get in the way of being creative. Because when you create, you are taking control of your life and your story. So don't give in to fear and doubt. Instead, let your creativity flow and express itself. Allow your creativity to take you places you did not know were possible. And remember, the world is full of possibilities, and nothing is ever set in stone. Your destiny and your creative potential are unlimited and for you to decide. So, I'll say this one more time. What are you waiting for? It's time to start creating through adversity and overcoming the obstacles and challenges that stand in your path. It's time to take control of your life and express yourself in ways never before imaginable. Don't let anything hold you back from becoming the creative soul you were born to be. Remember, it's never too late to start. You can make a difference, and you can make a statement. Don't ever give in to your fears or limitations of the world around you, because this simple journey starts with just one step, and that step is taken when you decide to make yourself heard. Don't let a single thing or person stand in your way. Take control and do what you know in your heart that is right. In the end, this podcast was made to inspire you to push beyond your past or your limitations and to be the best creative version of yourself. You deserve to have your story heard and to have your voice recognized. Don't let any obstacle or person stand in your way. Be stronger than your past and be stronger than your doubts. Be the person who rises up in the face of challenges and creates through pain and hardship, because this is your chance to make a statement about who you are and what you're capable of. So, let this podcast be your statement and your declaration that you are not going to let the world define you, that you will not let your past hold you back, and that you will create on your own terms in your own way. It's time to show the world that you are more than just a statistic or a number or a simple individual. You are a creative soul with a story to be told. Do not let anyone or anything stop you from being heard. Take control and ownership of your creative story, because no matter what obstacles or boundaries are placed in your way, you will continue to be heard by people all over the world with a story to be told. A story of resilience, hope, strength, and inspiration. Go on, get out there and tell your story. Because your voice matters and your story matters, don't be afraid of what the world might think or say. Be proud of who you are and what you have accomplished, because at the end of the day, you are the one who gets to write your own story. Don't let anyone else tell it for you, because you deserve to be heard and recognized for the wonderful creative soul that you are. So, as we near the end of the first episode of this podcast series, I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered to take control of your life and your story. It is never too late to start being creative and to show the world what you're capable of. And remember, nothing can hold you back from achieving the heights of success and the happiness that you are meant to achieve. Go with passion and determination, and make the world a better place through your creativity. So, to everyone who tuned into the first episode, thank you for joining me on this journey. Whether you were just looking for inspiration or you've been following along, I hope you've taken away something valuable and have been left inspired to pursue your own creative dreams, because the world needs more creativity and positivity, And the key to changing the world is being the change that you want to see happen. So go out there and live your life the best way you know how. And don't let anything stop you from creating the life you truly deserve. I hope you'll join me again in the future for another inspiring and uplifting episode for this series. As always, take care of yourself and take care of those around you. And never forget to be creative and take the time to express yourself, because you never know how many people you might be inspiring along the way. I'm Aleezay, reminding you to always follow your creative whims.